Have you ever wondered what would happen if the Upper Moon 2 Doma became a gentleman like Akaza and stopped eating women? Would he even reach Upper Moon 2, and would this small change even affect the overall story? Well, you might be surprised. So here's our answer to the question, what if Doma stopped eating women? But warning, there is a few spoilers ahead, so enter at your own risk. So before we get into the what if of this video, let's take a refresher and look into who really is this psychopathic Upper Moon 2 called Doma. Doma is chronologically 133 years old, so he basically should be dead at this point. So how did he exactly get that old? Well, it all started when he was born, and when people believed that he could talk to the gods because he had rainbow eyes and platinum hair. He became the head of their cult, but one thing that's more unique about him is that he couldn't feel any emotion, even to the point where after his mother killed his father and herself, he just said that they just made a big mess and was just annoyed. After that, Doma became a demon when he was 20 years old. And now not only are people stupid enough to join his cult, but they're stupid enough to not notice that he eats them. And that's where his story as one of the most powerful demons in the Demon Slayer series starts. But what if he only ate his male followers and didn't touch the women? Well, the biggest difference would affect his strength, but why? Well, it's because a demon's strength is dependent on both his affinity to Muzan's blood and how many humans they consume over their lifetime. Doma would be a lot less stronger than his current vision in the original series. Seeing as most of his consumption is women, he would most likely try to transition that hunger and drive towards men, or his strength will slowly deteriorate or not grow as much. Now that we know that if Doma stopped eating women, his strength would change, we have to ask the question, how would this affect the plot? Well, we have to go back to the past once more. During his time as a demon, Doma eventually became upper rank 6 and met Gyotaro and Uma, also known as Daki, as he was roaming the streets of the entertainment district while feasting on the young women there. After he met them, Doma would turn them into demons, while they were both on the verge of death. But now that Doma doesn't eat women, would the siblings even become demons? Well, there's a high chance that they would, and they'll just die in the entertainment district like they were supposed to. Doma wouldn't have any reason to go there anymore, but he would most likely still be the upper rank 6, since he has an abundant supply of male followers he can consume. This means that the Upper Moon 6 in the current timeline would be different demons, and we actually don't know who they'll be. After some time in the original series, Doma surpassed Akaza, but now that both of them aren't eating women, what would happen here? Well, it's safe to say that when it comes to pure talent alone, Akaza is a step ahead of Doma. In this series, Akaza would rise to the rank of Upper Moon 2, while Doma, even though he doesn't eat women anymore, is still a very powerful demon, so there's a chance this ice-wielding psychopath would rise to the ranks of Upper Moon 3. It's also safe to assume that these two would be best friends as they're both simps and share the same philosophy when it comes to growing stronger. Really quick guys, we want to give a shout out to Ayan Fish for being our 100th comment on the What If Tanjiro Met Yorichi instead of Sabido and Makomo video. So go show his page some love and leave a comment that Nutshell Anime sent you. Also, stay tuned because we will be doing more shoutouts and giveaways going forward. Back to the video. Moving on, there would be another interesting change in the story, and it's all about another maniac, but one that we all love, the boarhead Inosuke. Before the present timeline, approximately 15 years before the events of Demon Slayer started, Inosuke's mother met Doma after she joined his cult when she escaped their household. In the original timeline, Doma didn't even think about consuming Inosuke's mother because of her beauty and how good she could sing, but she found out that Doma has been eating his followers and tried to run with Inosuke. However, Doma caught up to her, but she managed to give Inosuke a chance to survive. So what would change in this timeline? Well, Kotoha would still discover that Doma is eating his male followers, but instead, for the sake of the scenario, let's say Doma caught up to them before Kotoha could throw Inosuke off the cliff. Since Doma doesn't like to eat women, he'd probably have a hatred for killing them too, especially if they're civilians. Doma would most likely capture Kotoha and throw her into a dungeon, because we all know cults have at least one of those. There, Doma would try to make Kotoha understand the situation, and seeing as she has no choice, she would make Doma promise that he wouldn't kill Inosuke too. Doma would most likely agree, or at the very least pretend to agree, and Kotoha and Inosuke would stay at the Paradise Cult along with him. Without Inosuke, there would be drastic changes in the story of Demon Slayer, but we'll get to that in a moment. We first have to address Doma's most important kill, Kanae Kocho, the former Flower Hashira. So what would be the major difference here? Well, I think Doma would still kill Kanae, because if he doesn't, then he'll be the one to die, especially since he's not as strong as he was in the original series. That's gender equality for you. so there wouldn't be a lot of change when it comes to that event. Now that we have the past out of the way, how would those changes affect the current timeline? Well, first off, we have to consider what would happen when Inosuke is missing. Inosuke has been crucial in different parts of the story, especially at the beginning, so what would happen? First off, he wouldn't be at the final selection arc and the Suzumi Mansion arc. Of course, both Zenitsu and Tanjiro could manage themselves against Kyogai, but the big difference would come at the Mount Natagumo arc. Inosuke was consequential in finding the whereabouts of the demons, as well as fending off the father spider demon until Giyu arrived. Without him, Tanjiro and Zenitsu would be in a lot of trouble, and there would be a chance that Tanjiro wouldn't even survive the fight against the father spider demon. This means that if Tanjiro were to die, the entire Demon Slayer timeline would be shattered, and the only thing that stands between Muzan and world domination is gone. If Tanjiro died, Zenitsu would be the only one left of the trio, and we all know how useful he can be. It's also safe to assume that without Tanjiro explaining his sister's circumstances to Gagaya, Ubuyashiki Nezuko would be executed by the Hashiras. So what about the Mugen train arc? Well, let's say that it was still Enmu that was the one that was causing trouble in the Infinity Train, but there are only two people left to defend it, Zenitsu and Rengoku. If it were just the two of them, Rengoku would be the one to find Enmu, while Zenitsu tries his best to save all the remaining passengers. So what would change? Well, Zenitsu wouldn't be able to save everyone, and Rengoku might get some injuries when he fights Enmu. During this battle, of course, Akaza will arrive and Rengoku will become your favorite donut. Moving on in the Entertainment District arc, since Tanjiro isn't there anymore to stop Tenjin from forcing Ai and the other girls to work with him, the Demon Slayers would be at a major disadvantage. But did we forget something? Well, Daki and Gyotaro didn't become demons and are already dead. Although it's safe to say that another demon took their place and we have no idea who it would be. Tenjin's situation at the Entertainment District is unknown, but they're definitely at a disadvantage seeing as they lack firepower. It's not completely wrong to say that the Demon Slayer might lose in this arc against whoever they're facing, and Zenitsu might lose his life here too. In the Swordsmith Village arc, Tanjiro isn't there either. When Gyoko and Hantengu will attack the village, Mitsuri and Yuichiro will be there too, but they won't unlock their Demon Slayer marks. But why is that? Well, because one of the conditions to unlock the mark is for the Demon Slayers to be near an individual that has currently unlocked it, and the only individual that had it was Tanjiro, but now he's gone. Muichiro and Mitsuri would most likely lose this fight, giving the demons another edge in the war. And here we are at Doma's next appearance in the Infinity Castle arc, where he fights against Shinobu. Of course, Doma isn't going to back down just because he doesn't eat women. The situation would be the same as Kanae's fight, and Shinobu's fate would still be the same as well. Shinobu would lose this fight, but instead of Doma consuming her, he would just leave her corpse untouched. And there's another interesting fact in this fight. Do you know what it is? Well, it's Inosuke's absence. You thought he was just a meathead, but he's actually important. We all know that after Shinobu dies, Kanae would be the next one to face Doma, and even if Doma wants her not to go ahead with her plan, she'll still attack. And do you know how she won in the original series? Yes, it was because of Inosuke, and now that he's gone, she'll be joining her sisters. It's even safe to assume that Doma might have turned Inosuke into a demon, but that's a what if for another time. In the end, the Demon Slayers would lose, and if you think about it, one small habit change broke the entire timeline of the series. So that's what would happen if Doma stopped eating women. But how do you think the story would play out? Let us know in the comments. Also, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more interesting what if topics like this one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.